A pillar of smoke rose above the mountains, and a sooty aroma filled the air.
Fire!
Gabor said, then took a deep sniff.
Perhaps a bolt struck some barren trees?
No.
Meve said curtly.
I know that scent too well. All Edirn reeked of it. It's the smell of burning homes.
The Lyrians quickened their gait. Soon they saw a town fully aflame, and a roaring, furious dragon above it.
That's your Keltullis?
Gascon asked, shielding his eyes from the sharp glare emanating from the city.
You were right. Perfectly harmless.
Dinna ken was get his knickers in a bunch.
The dwarf said, grabbing his axe from his belt.
Queen, we got to make haste to the rescue.
Reynard!
Meve called out.
Have our men wet their cloaks for a modicum of fire protection. We move as soon as they're done.
Your Grace, they are but common soldiers. To fight a dragon.
I know, but we must help them, or at least try.
While Reynard went to pass on the order, Meve turned to Gabor.
This dragon, has it any weakness?
Fear not,
Said the somber dwarf.
except a fondness for raw meat.
Meve nodded and swallowed dryly. Despite the cold, she felt sweat pour down her scalp. Stifling her fear, Meve gave the order to attack, and her soldiers rode into the flaming city. From up close, Keltullis looked even more terrifying. Though enormous, he moved with shocking agility, like a lizard scurrying over sand. With one swing of his paw, he snapped the necks of 3 dwarves, then bisected a fourth with a powerful bite. After that, he turned his attention to the Lyrians.
More of you!
He said, twisting his bloody maw into a horrifying smile.
Good!
Behind me! Stay together!
I smell a leak.
Haven't killed the dragon. It has to be possible.
I'm coming, I'm coming.
Ah, shite! He's raging now! Watch out!
Ever have a stone knock out one of your teeth?
Your Grace, we're taking losses!
You mad? Don't shake that! One bolt.
must sweat like a swine in that jacket.
Ours is not to reason why. The Grace, he's vulnerable! We must strike now!
Can't take it anymore.
Aye.
We got a job to do.
Quick and painful this'll be.
Behind me! Stay together!
Catch! You haven't killed the dragon. It has to be possible.
I'm coming, I'm coming.
There's been a mistake. I'm no mage.
The Grace, we're taking losses!
That day, many Lyrians perished, either to the dragon's all-consuming fire or to its flesh-rending claws. Yet their sacrifice was not in vain. Together with the dwarves, they were able to grievously wound Keltullis, forcing him to flee. The howls of the wounded monster rang throughout the valley.
That's right, howl, you scurvy snake! Shouldn't he ever attacked us, eh? Damn fuel lizard!
Meave, that's Vavrenik, elder of the town and all the Ferences.
My regards and condolences.
Eh, tain't so bad. If nae for ye, wouldn't there be a stone left unrubbled? To be honest, when I caught wind some human queen come to Mahakam looking for aid, I said a crocus would sprout twixt my cheeks afore I'd vote aye on that. Gonna be a fear to look in my breeches after, but changed my mind. After what I saw today, what ye did for us, you've the support and undying gratitude of all Ferences.
Thank you. Faced with a Nilfgaardian peril, that means a great deal.
Forgive me for interrupting this tear-tugging scene of interracial reconciliation, but I can't hold back no longer. Vavrenik! Double shice! What happened? Why'd Keltullis attack?
I ken as much as ye, meaning squat diddly. Just flew up, started spewing flames, half the town lit up in a flash.
Sheepshank! 300 years I've been a good neighbour.
What's done's done. Gotta think about the future. The Drake's just taking a breather. Gotta finish him off for his regained form.
Meaning we haven't much time. He heals like an alchemist's pup. and the nearest guards are miles away. He'll be up flying again before they get here.
Aye, that's what I thought. Perhaps, your grace, you'd,
What? Jest you must.
I ken you're tired frae the fight, dinna want to risk casualties, etc. But remember, the beast's sleeping on a bed of gold and rubies. All belonging by right to Brother, of course. But if quibbling some wandered off, he'd nae notice.
I admit that does alter my calculations. Besides, the dragon was badly wounded.
Putting it featherly, blood poured out of him like a leaky bladder. Just needs a coup de grace.
Fine. I'll do the deed.
Ken you'd see the light.
Oi, Vavrenek, Vavrenek. This lady's gonna make your rump a regular crocus garden.
Aye, Queen's doing us a great service. One that'll profit us both.
So, where is Keltullis' lair?
North of here. It's a vast cavern. Ye canna miss it.
Meve bid farewell to Vavrenek and set out on her way. Did her way lead to the dragon's lair, you ask? Shh. Let's not spoil the surprise. Keltullis' lair was indeed impossible to miss, as would stand to reason, for any space capable of containing a dragon must be enormous. The lair's maw, a black triangle cut out of a vast plain of snow, loomed from afar. Confirming the dragon's presence was the powerful odor emanating from it, one of sulfur and blood.
Well then,
Gascon said,
ready to become a legendary dragon slayer?
My father oft said, never should you count pelts till the hunt is through.
Meve said, dismounting her horse.
It's all the more true when you hunt dragons. He's wounded, yes, but one puff of flame, and we shall be not legends, but corpses. Leave all thoughts of foolhardy bravery behind.
The Lyrians crept across the dragon's threshold. They walked single file, shields raised, watched by bats hanging from the ceiling. Keltullis lay curled up on a bed of diamonds and gold coins turned red from his blood. Seeing how he strained merely to lift his massive head, Meve knew the dragon no longer posed any threat.
Come to finish what your poison began?
The monster croaked hoarsely.
Fine. Do it then.
Keltullis turned over, exposing his vulnerable underbelly, and waited calmly for the fatal blow.
Wait,
Meve said, dropping her sword.
what poison?
Keltullis laughed while squeezing his bleeding side in pain.
So they didn't tell you? Lousy munchkins.
Hey! Watch your tongue!
Gabor yelled.
Sides, I didn't ken anything about it.
Keltullis looked the Lyrians over mistrustfully with his snake-like eyes, then began to tell his tale. The caravan Meve had met on the road was different to the others. This time, Keltullis's meat had been pickled in a special brine, one spiked with poison. As the dragon lay curled up in pain, Ferenc dwarves entered his lair and smashed his heads.
So if I understand correctly,
Meve interrupted.
you're female?
Correct. Same as you.
As if on command, all Lyrian eyes turned to Gabor.
Can you look at me? We didn't peek under his, its tail.
If I may.
Reynard interjected.
These revelations about Keltullis' sex are undeniably fascinating. But I'm more curious why the Ferences stooped to such a dishonorable deed.
That's easy enough to guess.
Meve said.
They were afraid the dragon would soon demand more tribute to feed its young, so they decided to strike preemptively.
To the Ferences' misfortune, they delivered too small a dose of poison. Infuriated at the sight of the broken eggs, the dragon gathered its strength and flew to the nearest town. Meve saw for herself what happened then. And now it was up to her to decide how this story would end. The dragon had killed dozens, perhaps even hundreds, but had been provoked first by the dwarves' heartless cruelty. Did it thus deserve death or mercy?
When judging my subjects, I would sometimes not know who bore the greater guilt,
Said Meve.
but as ruler, I had to reach a verdict, often a harsh one.
The queen returned her sword to its sheath.
This is not my land,
Meve said.
nor are these my subjects. I don't have to choose the lesser evil.
Meve!
Gabor hissed.
Bruver will be furious.
Let him. And you, dragon, swear me this. When you heal, you shall leave Mahakam and never return.
You've my word. And my gratitude.
Meve was about to leave the cavern when the dragon blocked her way with its tail, then gathered a smattering of valuables at the queen's feet. Each would be the prize of the Lyrian crown jewels. News that Meve had spared the dragon, which had killed dozens of dwarves, did indeed enrage the inhabitants of Mahakam, the Ferences in particular. But when the clans considered driving the Lyrians from the pass, Elder Vavrenek opposed it. No matter what happened after, he had sworn Meve his undying gratitude.
Trust a boarhead, and what do you get? A singed bahookie.
Meve squinted, the better to see the scene. Several dozen dwarves had gathered on the cliff overlooking the chasm. All were turned towards a ramp, at the peak of which stood a barrel.
What is that gathering about?
Asked the queen.
Have we a feast day?
Nay,
Answered Gabor grimly.
'tis an execution.
A hairy head peeked out of the barrel. The long, pointy nose and ears left no doubt that it belonged to a gnome. The first Meve had ever seen in her life.
Help! Save me!
The gnome yelled.
They aim to kill me! Cast me in the chasm!
Shut your maw!
Barked the dwarf standing next to him, who then shoved the gnome inside the barrel and covered it with a lid.
Your crimes! The sheer weight of it, eh? No lighter punishment is fitting.
The other gathered dwarves nodded approvingly. Two gripped the barrel, lay it on its side, then lifted it to cast in the chasm, paying the thumping from inside it no heed. The queen mounted up and squeezed her mare with her knees to urge her forward. Soon after, she heard a loud, wailing cry, the sound of wood splintering, 100 dwarves cheer, and then quiet.
Dare say it was the bonniest flight I've ever seen. A perfect parabola.
The blizzard's blowing in. Your Grace, perhaps we'd best pitch camp and wait for clear weather.
Tain't a bad idea. Said we might be waiting a week.
Then we march on. We've no time to waste. While we ride to and fro begging aid, Nilfgaard grows in power. We must obtain reinforcements as quickly as possible and liberate our home.
Meve rode on in silence, endeavoring to work out the length of her exile thus far. A scout's call tore her from her reverie.
Your Grace! You must see this!
With a grave mien, the soldier indicated a track in the snow. The hobnail boot print was all too familiar. Meve had seen it before, upon Lyria's sandy tracks, and midst the ashes to which Edirn had been turned.
Nilfgaardian footmen.
Seethed Meve.
Marched through of late.
Interrupted Gascon.
A day, perhaps 2 days past.
The scouts had learned a Nilfgaardian caravan with an armed escort had recently arrived in Mahakam. The invaders had brought with them chests brimming with gold and jewels, then exchanged these for the finest Mahakaman-forged swords and spears. A scout gave me one of the coins the Blackclads had used for payment. Upon the coin's back, the Lyrian eagle.
They pay with gold from my vault.
The Queen said through gritted teeth.
For arms that will cut down my fighting men and subjects.
We might yet pursue and hunt them down,
said Reynard, a spark in his eye.
And make certain Eddahi never lays hands on those weapons.
You might, I can.
Piped up Gabor, who had been listening to their exchange.
But you might also recall, we Mahakamans are neutrals who assure all guests within our borders safety. True, formally speaking, the Nilfgaardians have passed outside them, but attack them a stone's throw from our gates, and you'll see Brewer's rage come out his ears as steam, and out his arse as fire.
No war's outcome has been swayed by a few wagons of arms, no matter their quality.
Said the Queen, vaulting into her saddle.
Yet if we turn Brewer against us, I dare say we shall never wrest our land from black-clad hands.
The Queen's men regretted her reluctance to attack, but none tried to dissuade her. They knew her too well.
We shan't pass this way.
Oh, Reynard, whatever would we do without you? Plummet off the cliff like lemmings, no doubt.
Meve squinted and gazed off into the distance. It seemed to her that hundreds of black patches covered the peaks on the horizon. Once she had ridden up closer, she realized these were the windows of homes carved out of solid rock.
Our pride this was,
sighed Gabor.
Burra's Rump. A city carved out of mountain rock. Hundreds of miles of tunnels, Dozens of steelworks, smithies and forges. Now, it's a vast lair to monsters. They ooze from underground, weave their nests, hatch their young, and when hunger hits them in the gut, they prowl down into the pass.
Meave stood at the entrance to the underground city. The monumental gate, cast in bronze, lay on the ground, folded multiple times as a scroll of paper. Out of blackened windows oozed a stench of rotting meat and mold. The Queen bent an ear to hear water dripping, and, in the distance, a metallic scraping. A sound akin to chitinous scales rubbing against rock.
The soldiers await your order, Your Grace,
said Reynard quietly, as if he feared he would wake the beasts asleep in the caverns.
Do you recall my words as we fled Lyria?
Said Meave, turning to Reynard.
You swore you would retake your crown, even if you had to penetrate hell to do so.
Time to follow that oath.
The Queen inhaled deeply and stepped forward, her sword raised and prepared to strike or parry. Moments later, it was swinging, fighting, as the current tenants of Borrow's Rump came out to meet her.
This stench is foul.
You mad?
Hey! Bombs will only make things worse. Ah, damn it! They're hatching! Place is about to swarm with creepers!
This could hurt.
Give me a time.
Yes?
For Rivia!
Nothing personal, I assure you.
Have her done in a jiffy.
Arbalist at your command.
Can't take it anymore.
If the ring won't come off, just take the whole finger.
This way! Follow me!
Though wounded, Meve approached the Shaelmar, which lay writhing on the ground. She then ran her sword through its heart, finishing it. Yet so spent was she that she lacked the strength to pull her blade from between the plates of the chitinous armor.
The beast near took me.
She whispered.
It was very close.
The Lyrians reached a vast hall that had once served the clans as their meeting room. The stone benches were covered in sticky slime and insectoid eggs, while bats of varying size hung from the crystal chandeliers. Gascon rummaged through old, weathered bones, surely hoping to find something of value. Gabor, in turn, was at a shut and locked door, grappling with it as if it were a deadly beast. The door finally gave way with a sigh, and the dwarf raised his arms in a triumphant gesture.
It's a storeroom. Should hold miners' tools aplenty,
he said, enthused.
Some barrels of alchemical brews in here too. Lucky there's no sign of moisture. They haven't soaked through. All's we've got to do is roll them out into the corridor and set a bit of fire to them, and woof! We'll have sealed the beasts off from the pass once and for all.
Meve treated the dwarves' instructions as hallowed. Soon after, the mountains trembled from a powerful explosion. Rubble came down and blocked the tunnels. They say the plumes of smoke escaping the window openings in the rock could be seen as far as Aldersburg.